sick, please stay at home, don't spread it to others. If you have someone at home who may be immunosuppressed, may have comorbidities, may have their immunity decreased due to whatever reason, please keep them safe. Masking is important, hand hygiene is important.
What are the main factors driving this spike in cases across Asia?
A lot of experts are really agreeing on kind of the main culprit as of now is that of we are hearing about waning immunity at this point of time as the main culprit for the rise in the number of cases.
But how do you assess the risk for India in the context of this regional surge that we have been witnessing?
Rates of hospitalization have been low. Most of them have been very mild cases. Almost all of them have been mild cases.
Yes.
And this is really heartening to see that as of now, the situation is under control.
How effective are the current COVID-19 vaccines and boosters, against these new sub-variants?
Vaccines are still the mainstay of protection against COVID and the mainstay of protection against severe disease.
What is the level of preparedness we have at this stage, in case the cases do surge?
Framework for surveillance is robust. Our genomic surveillance data is ongoing. So it's really, we are prepared for everything that may come.
Hello viewers, you're watching India Today Global with me, Ishita Mitra. Now, as Asia witnesses a surge in COVID-19 cases, India remains on high alert. Singapore, Hong Kong, Thailand, China all have been experiencing a sharp rise in infections and hospitalizations, and this is due to new Omicron subvariants, and India is very closely monitoring the situation. So to unpack the recent surge in cases and the seriousness of threat to India, I have with me Dr. Souradeep Chowdhury. He works in the Medicine and Infectious Disease Department at All India Institute of Medical Sciences. He has been closely tracking the evolving COVID-19 situation in Asia and India. So thank you, Doctor, for joining us here on India Today Global.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Now, my first question to you is, over the last few weeks, COVID-19 cases have surged in Hong Kong, Singapore, Thailand. What are the main factors driving this spike in cases across Asia?
Right. Yeah. So as you rightly mentioned, there's been a huge surge. The main surge was seen initially in Hong Kong. So it has been seeing a significant increase in cases since almost mid-April. And the number of cases, the number of positive respiratory samples in Hong Kong has almost doubled. Hospitalizations are up. It has reached around, the number of positive samples is around 13%, which has been up from 6% just the last month. The number of hospitalizations is up. It is at the rate where it is the most it has been for the entire year. So authorities there are taking note of the same. Hong Kong has issued statements saying that they are indeed seeing an uptick in the number of cases. The number of severe cases are also up. We also have some data coming from Thailand. Thailand, as you know, has their Songkran festival in April, where they had a lot of large gatherings, and that could have been one of the events where a lot of people were exposed to the virus. And since April, they have also seen a rapid surge in the number of cases. Singapore has reported almost a 28% increase in the number of cases. There is some data from China as well, from mainland China.
Yes.
There are not very specific data, but they are saying that the number of respiratory illnesses have almost doubled over the last 5 months or so. So that is certainly something to take note of.
Okay, so clearly there's no one reason for the surge right now.
Yeah, so when something like this happens, there are obviously a number of factors which have, there's an interplay between number of factors, and then there's not one common answer to why we are seeing the increased number of cases.
And it's different across countries.
Yes, absolutely. So this is something that more data is needed at this point of time to really figure out what are the specifics as to why we are seeing the increase in cases. But a lot of experts are really agreeing on kind of the main culprit as of now is that of we are hearing about waning immunity at this point of time as the main culprit for the rise in the number of cases.
All right. Now, doctor, we've been given to understand that this current surge is being caused by LF.7 and NB.1.8. Both are descendants of JN.1 variant, which emerged in 2024. So, could you explain to our viewers about this new variants and how are they different from the previous ones?
Right, so that's a very good question. So actually, our understanding of the virus and the virus itself has changed so much from when it began. We have had the Delta, the Beta, the Omicron, and
Yes.
the JN1 variant is actually a descendant of the initial Omicron variant, with Omicron BA variant, which was there since August 2023, and since the virus mutates and over time it creates even more variants and more subvariants. So what we're seeing now are basically subvariants of this JN1 variant.
Yes.
Singapore actually has identified the strain, the subvariants that you mentioned, LF7 and NB.1.8 as being the predominant strains that are circulating in Singapore. Hong Kong is actually saying that they have seen a shift away from these strains and they are seeing an XDV strain. So there are indeed, like this is always in flux. A lot of strains are circulating constantly, and what becomes the predominant strain at some point of time may change. But yes, as of now, these are the predominantly circulating strains in Southeast Asia.
Okay, so you've explained us the situation when it comes to other countries. Now I want to come to India. Currently, the situation is said to be under control. We have about 257 active cases. But how do you assess the risk for India in the context of this regional surge that we have been witnessing?
Right. So it's really important to see that even though the situation may be similar in a lot of countries, they all have their different trajectories, and it's heartening to see that India has actually had a different experience of what is happening as compared to our neighbors. So as you rightly mentioned, by the data as of May 19th says that there are around 257 active cases, and the rates of hospitalization have been low. Most of them have been very mild cases. Almost all of them have been mild cases.
Yes.
And this is really heartening to see that as of now, the situation is under control. India has it's a very low figure when you think about the country's large population. So currently, we are doing much better than what our neighbors are experiencing.
Well, that's very good to hear. Now, this is one question that's also on our viewers' mind, that how effective are the current COVID-19 vaccines and boosters, against these new subvariants?
Right. That's a question that comes up very often.
Yes.
This is something of concern to a lot of patients where they are concerned whether the vaccine they have taken, it was so long back, is it still protective, what's going on? So it's important to understand that vaccines are still the mainstay of protection against COVID and the mainstay of protection against severe disease. So even if you do end up getting the virus, even if you do end up being under the weather for a few days, your chances of having a severe disease if you're vaccinated are very low as opposed to someone who's not vaccinated. So the vaccines are actually doing a great job with regards to saving you from severe manifestations of the disease.
All right. Now, Doctor, you mentioned that the current surge in countries such as China and Thailand can be attributed to waning immunity. And you've been, tracking the situation in India as well. So how do you assess the immunity levels in India?
Right. So let me preface this by saying there's not a lot of data, but the primary theory is that if you've had a vaccination, if you've had a natural infection sometime in the past, and now your immune system mounts a response against that, but over time it sort of comes down. So that's what the phenomenon of waning immunity is about, and that makes the population somewhat susceptible again to the infection which would previously not have been there. So that is the entire concept that is being put forward as the main reason driving the current COVID surge. And it's like we discussed, since the situation in India is under control, it's really interesting to see that vaccine uptake has been so high in our population. There was no vaccine hesitancy. People went in droves and they took the vaccine. We created milestones every day, and that really seems to be holding up.
All right. Now, what we witnessed back in 2020 and 2021 was a nightmare, and therefore India learned its lessons. I want to understand what is the level of preparedness we have at this stage. In case the cases do surge.
Right, absolutely. So, what happened was our idea of trying to deal with a virus or a disease that we don't know about has really gone up by leaps and bounds.
Okay.
Capacity building has really happened where we can be ready for a new threat or the return of an old enemy at very short notice. And that is something which is very important in these scenarios. So, yeah, India has taken adequate steps. Just because the number of cases are low doesn't mean that we have been complacent. There has been a high-level meeting by the ministry on Monday, and we have reviewed like the cases were reviewed, and they have said that as of now the message that needs to go is that of calm but continued vigilance. So there is no need for panic. Things are under control. We have excellent, robust systems in place. There's something called the Integrated Disease Surveillance Program, IDSP. There is the ICMR framework. So all of this framework for surveillance is robust. Our genomic surveillance data is ongoing. So it's really, we are prepared for everything that may come.
So precautionary measures also would remain same in this case.
Right. So it's basically the same that we have talked about, worth talking about again because people might need to refresh their memories. So most importantly, if you are sick, please stay at home, don't spread it to others. If you have someone at home who may be immunosuppressed, may have comorbidities, may have their immunity decreased due to whatever reason, please keep them safe. Masking is important, hand hygiene is important. And if you have any symptoms of upper respiratory tract infections, something like cough, cold, runny nose, blocked nose, sore throat, maybe some fever, do stay at home. Remember that in this particular variant, the one that is ongoing, there is some preliminary data that diarrhea seems to be more common as to the other variants, something to keep in mind.
Okay. That's a very important point that you've just made. Now, my last question to you, Doctor. Do you see the possibility of COVID-19 also becoming a seasonal endemic disease in India, similar to other respiratory viruses we've seen?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Actually, this is something that is of interest and something that researchers in Hong Kong and Singapore have already alluded to.
Okay.
They have said that this is the natural history of a respiratory virus.
Yes,
This is something
the basic trajectory.
Absolutely. So that has also happened with influenza. Influenza was previously a pandemic, and now it has settled down to a seasonal flu, which we are ready for each season, which we have vaccines for each season. So this seems to be the new normal for COVID. As of now, we don't have very hard data saying yes, that is the case, but that is the hypothesis that most researchers are putting forward, that probably it'll just boil down to this seasonal flu that keeps coming.
All right. Well, thank you, Dr. Chaudhary, for explaining us what are the reasons, for this current surge that we've been witnessing in Asia, and also what are the do's and don'ts with regard to new subvariants. Thank you so much for joining us here on India Today Global. Viewers, stay tuned to our channel where we simplify geopolitics for you.